So there's something weird that's happened, stuff like this is an intro. We'll see if I can talk about random stuff, personal life, politics, even gaming. Even like software. There's plenty of other things, tech, there's so many topics. But this one's about a weird health issue, sort of. But I never used to have a stutter. I never used to go or something between sentences when I was trying to think. It's not even like a stimming thing. Because I literally never used to do that. Not even as a child. So it's very weird that I just suddenly started doing it. I'm not sure if that's because I'm turning out happy or perhaps because I've come off medication. I've started developing new issues, and the umming and arring is a issue that comes with that as a withdrawal, I guess. But even though if I just did it then, I notice it annoyingly, and I don't really stop it. But I want to, and I'm sort of going to try and train my brain over these mostly podcasts, but everything else and talking to not do that. Fuck's sake. It's harder than it sounds, I guess. So it's easier said than done. It's one of those things, I think, where I do want to sort of appear like I'm not actually like skipping over words and stuff. I just want to say it less, basically, because it's kind of like every other sentence, and whilst I might be a slow thinker at the moment, it didn't used to be. It's a weird thing. I used to be quite good at memorising things, but suddenly just, no, not anymore. Oh, I'm getting tired. Yeah, because I only got like 3 hours sleep. That's the thing. Yeah, I've got the thingy on my watch, so handy old thingy, whatever that is. And trying to multitask in the game. Here it is. 5 hours and 51 minutes. Nice. Not really. This sucks. I don't know why I'm just losing sleep. It's so frustrating. Like, one of the worst things about coming off the medication, actually, which I sort of knew was going to happen anyway, but I sort of didn't mind it. It's just like the touch of insomnia. It used to mitigate any effects that caffeine had on me, and now caffeine affects me a lot. And because I'm off the medication that makes me sleepy, it now makes me awake. Because I'm on no medication anymore. But I think last night I even had... Was it last night? No, it can't be. No, it was the night before, I think. I was sort of overate and I needed to take a Gaviscon, annoyingly, for the first time in years. I hadn't taken one since childhood, because I used to get them in childhood, of all things. Yeah, it's very weird. I needed it to ease the pain and discomfort of having heartburn and feeling like I'm going to vomit. And there was sort of pain associated with it, not too bad. So yeah, that's sort of an update on that sort of thing. I am aware of it. And trying not to obviously get into that sort of an orang thing. I don't know, it can be a way to express yourself, but at the same time, it can be annoying because you just hear it so much. It doesn't really add to a constructive sentence. And the stuttering is not really a good sign, though, as I said. I don't know what it could be, if it's unrelated to the medication or something. Anyway, I think I have to keep practicing that. See where it goes. I've been doing it less actually since noticing. I'm noticing that now, even. Let's see where it goes. Let's move on. You want to know a weird niche issue? I just realised, for some reason, it took me so long to realise, I don't know why. We have a huge, original soundtrack conservation issue. By that I mean, if you look at other various soundtracks for great shows and stuff, they almost never appear. Looking at Fate, for example, actually Spy X Family, maybe not actually. I'm trying to think of like an anime that was really hard to find a soundtrack for, other than the one I'm about to talk about. But there's definitely those out there that are just so hard to find. I remember wanting to find a certain soundtrack before, and it's like, oh, you can't find it. There isn't a single one. It's like on YouTube or on the internet. It's like, oh, okay, well, sorry for enjoying the soundtrack, I guess. Seems like that's a sin. Which always fucking sucks, because when you hear a good soundtrack, you literally want to listen to the entire thing and like hear everything that's pretty much been played during that anime. And the one anime I wanted to look at, which may be regrettable because there is a crappy YouTube playlist with thousands of them in there, is One Piece. The One Piece OST is huge, but it's not that big. I don't think it's 1,000 something long. That's ridiculous, in my opinion anyway. But why the hell aren't there any like official albums that you can necessarily look up? And even then, the audio quality you get on these is sometimes really questionable. So where the fuck are all the companies like, where's Toei and Funimation, is it? I forgot the name. Where are the literal preservation efforts for these? And why the hell are they not here? And it's really concerning, because One Piece's soundtrack is genius. Yeah, it definitely fits the mood, and they use the same soundtrack all these years later, I think, up until Wano anyway. I'm not sure if they changed it, but it's like so timeless, it never really ages badly. It's crazy how good it is. But disappointingly, it doesn't seem to be kept very well. There's almost no way to find a reliable playlist of all the music, and even then finding the individual music I think might be a problem. So it sort of shifts the blame from, well, us to the actual animation studios and publishers. The companies responsible for actually making this stuff. And what's weird is game soundtracks are much better preserved than TV and movie soundtracks. Which is just fucking wrong. Like, come on. I would have thought the opposite would be true, but I guess because games you can actually rip them from the actual game itself, it's probably easier to do. But that comes with its own issue, because it means that TV and movies, you either have to rip from the audio itself, which good luck doing that by editing out all the sound effects, but you have to hope that it's been released somewhere, even like leaked possibly. So it's relying on really unorthodox methods to get them. Because in a game, you tend to look at the files, you often might need a reader because most of the files can be encrypted or in a different coding language and stuff. So including the music, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And then you get it from there. And I think it does come with its original names as well, which is interesting. But currently, there is a struggle with just getting soundtracks from TV stuff. I remember I was trying to listen to the Spy X Family earlier this year, and I couldn't really find many. Now, I found soundtracks for like the first season and second season, but not really in the movies, which is always a bit odd. I didn't really like the fact that it's not really kept that well. Like, where the hell are all these soundtracks exactly? It's very bizarre. I just wish it was done better and obviously released, like even to Spotify or something. Like releasing it anywhere at this point is good. And actually, there's the other show I tried to find a soundtrack for. SpongeBob. I have fond memories of it from childhood. But my fucking god, the soundtracks that have been uploaded to YouTube are fucking horrendous. There seems to be this fake channel, I don't believe it's a real SpongeBob production team, but there seems to be a channel that uploads the SpongeBob tracks, and this goes up to, I think, modern seasons, if I'm not mistaken. I only listened to about 11 before giving up, realising that the audio quality is shit, and finding a better one is impossible, or near impossible. And it's one of those things where they need to release it, because many people love the fucking soundtracks. And let's not forget, I mean, the problem is the current music industry. It's all about quantity and not quality. So imagine how much fucking money you would make by releasing these old soundtracks. Just imagine. It would be something I would buy if it was digital and downloadable, for sure. Especially for One Piece. I'd probably do it for SpongeBob too. Trying to think of others. But that's the benefit of it. Releasing it and monetizing it, especially if you do it affordably, like people are gonna buy that. There's no doubt about it. And it's definitely something to remember it by. Like even if it's just like a USB stick with the things like maybe even like a custom USB stick. There's a physical media element to solve. Although technically, a USB stick might not last that long. I don't know. I've never actually done that. I've had USB sticks, but I've never really seen whether they last long enough. I did have one. I have one from college that's from like 2013 and it still works. It's actually my Windows boot media because I have a backup. For some reason I can't replace it with Windows 11, so it's weird. So yeah, it's bizarre, but you could do something like that. You can make a custom USB drive. You can put something on it like SpongeBob or One Piece, whatever, if you want, and have the soundtrack on there. Like, it's a good idea. And you know, that's all you need to do. You know, people would buy that shit. It's got a functional use and it's got the soundtrack on it. And you can transfer it, or copy it, or even just reuse the fucking USB. There's like two purposes there. And people will pay good money for that. So it's a missed opportunity when you're not releasing stuff like this anymore. You know, USB drives aren't outdated media by any means, because I still use them. All computers use them. Like, it's pretty much a fucking given here. So where the hell is it? Why isn't this actually been done yet? I'm just genuinely confused. Because yeah, there's a lot of good music that's definitely out there that's old. But you don't really see it because, again, it's just not published. So I think companies, they should start making like petitions and stuff, obviously, hopefully that'll work. Doesn't always, but it's worth a try, as usual. But you need to encourage companies to start releasing their music. I remember the World of Warcraft soundtrack, actually, I wanted to listen to that. And I also got a bunch of crap. Like, there's pretty much no way to view it. Outside of like 2-hour long fucking videos, but I didn't want to do that because I like all the music separated. Split, which is also a thing that gives someone else a job to, by the way. So it's important to have that. In this day and age, you can still modernise selling music, even if you're like a game company. You no doubt have the ability to do that, especially if you're making lots of money. So again, where's the music? I need it now. Or else. Got an interesting topic. It's about Black Mirror again. So obviously it's not for everyone. But this topic is actually really interesting because it's a pattern I've noticed. For some reason, in pretty much every single episode, there are people with very serious issues, but some of them are not so serious, but I'll explain. But every single character in that, the main character, is treated as a problem. And it turns out that they are the problem by the end. And it's really weird. Because it means, yeah, there's essentially some weird stuff going on. Also, I just realised episode 1 has similar parallels to episode 3, was it? Yeah, episode 3. Anyway, but what's so interesting about it is that the characters are not exactly the good guys. Like, there's not been a single one as far as I know. Because they've all sort of had their issues. Like, from episode 1 season 1, got the government guy, the Prime Minister, who's basically. He basically can't decide what to do at that point, and decides to actually fuck an animal. And it's also sort of questionable, like, because I think it's sort of rooted in, like, left-leaning politics, to be honest. It's kind of like those of us who don't care about the royal family are like, it doesn't really matter. But even then, it's kind of like, okay, but these people need to find out what they're doing. But he definitely wasn't a good guy either. That's the interesting thing. So it's like, nobody's really exempt there. In episode 2, 5 million merits, the guy falls in love. It's just seemingly innocent, he's just living his life as it is, and then he goes on stage, he attempts to kill himself, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, it's bad for him, but to the people it's just, yeah, it's another drama. But it's far worse that I think he wants to argue with them and potentially kill them, which is what I initially thought. But then he takes up their offer and becomes corrupt. Which is, yeah, that's very bizarre. Then episode 3 was. Oh, I forgot. I did have the wiki open, I'll open it again. It's Wikipedia. It's actually pretty handy. The entire history of the grain, that's it. So the guy is seemingly innocent at first, but then you find out that he's really paranoid. Like, really fucking paranoid. You know, I don't know. Did he beat up his wife? I can't remember. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, he's so paranoid that he does the wrong thing. And he actually goes into her history, into her grain. So, that's really weird. Again, no good guys yet. Be right back. The AI stuff. It's actually called AI, yeah. I guess it has always existed, technically speaking. But it's like not the AI we know now. That's the odd thing about that. But she sort of was problematic because she wasn't willing to take her time with the AI, and that in itself is questionable. Because that's the sort of reality we're heading towards now. People are choosing to be ignorant and will pretend like a conscious AI were it to ever happen. I'd prefer if it wouldn't, just because it means that we've got another problem on our hands, just in the case of, again, rogue AI. But yeah, it's like she's bad for essentially treating him like crap and him not really understanding it, not really understanding emotion that well. Like, and she also decided to take up the offer of being in contact with her husband again, which is, yeah, very questionable. Like, most people would go with what is it? What is it fucking called? There is bereavement counselling, I know about that. But people would go with like psychic and stuff to try and get closure from essentially another source, like contact the dead. But she decided to do AI, upload his personal stuff, tell AI all the personal stuff that he's done, which again is very questionable, which is also out there in the wide open, because that's in a data center somewhere. It's a very questionable situation, that ending as well, where she separates the AI, I forgot his name, from the child, and the child thinks that, I think anyway, that she thinks that it's her father, for real, but he's just living in the roof for some reason. So that's all very questionable. And White Bear, yeah, obviously the woman being chased was a criminal. The Waldo moment, I actually, yeah, he is an arsehole, yeah. I was trying to think of the moment where it was revealed he was kind of an arsehole. It's when he took her sort of rejection and started making it public and started making a sort of joke out of it. Yeah, it's kind of soft. After that, I think he sort of went rogue, didn't he? Possibly. I can't remember what else happened actually. I think of all the people, it's probably, I wouldn't say it's the least worst crime, which is fucking, that's a sentence. But it's definitely bad still, obviously. That's what I've noticed here, it's a pattern. And there's, I haven't watched White Christmas yet. Also, it's like a 3-year gap, holy crap. And then we're on season 3, which I'm on now, Nosedive. The ratings one. So, yeah, that lady went nuts eventually for ratings. I got so obsessed with it that she didn't even seek like help or anything. Which I found a bit weird. I only realised that after. She obviously purposely went to the wedding to crash it to try and lower the ratings of, say, her friend. Which I would argue is not really in her interest, even if her friend did technically dump her. But I think the bad part really comes when she does the speech and starts like getting real serious and stuff, like completely ruining the vibe in the wedding, not giving a shit about ratings. And then she gets thrown into a prison because of that. And there's this other guy there, and they start insulting each other as if it's like some weird love-hate romance thing. It was so weird, the ending. I do like it though. And then there's playtest, where the guy in question, actually he's probably the least worst of them all. Like, he's looking for a hookup, which again is like weird, questionable stuff. But that seems to be all he was looking for at that point. But he was refusing to answer the call from his mum. He wasn't really facing his fear, I don't think, with his father's passing. And yeah, like, based on how he did things, he also tried to infiltrate this game company, trying to leak info, which again is like quite questionable. So that was something. But whether he's a bad guy or not, it's hard to say. Because he didn't necessarily do anything wrong in the games themselves, it's just those situations specifically. So again, probably the okay bad guy in this case. Although it's technically not that bad. So it's like mixed, I guess, neutral. But I think it depends on perception. So, yeah. Episode 3, Shut Up and Dance. It's a weird name for it, I will say. Obviously, there's a bunch of them in there, a bunch of criminals, but obviously this first guy, obviously a paedophile. Should have said spoilers at the start, I forgot about that. Wasn't revealed till the end though, so you didn't actually know, but when you see that he's willing to do things rather than take a dive, obviously covering up though, so you naturally thought that, oh, he's just been caught wanking, so you think there's nothing wrong, and then you realise at the end, like, oh, he went there. So yeah, obviously bad guy. That's all the other guys I did. A guy who played husband, cheated, yeah, same thing. And then the recent one I watched, San Junipero. This is an interesting one because it seems like they're actively, they don't appear as bad people, but it's because you don't see the people they're involved with, the husbands or the partners. And obviously what they're doing here is cheating on their husbands or partners. I forgot who's who. And yeah, like, I wish it would show them, but that's basically what's happening there. You know, it's basically a cheating thing, and again, this proves again that there's still like bad people. They do bad actions anyway. Again, it's important to say that usually people, it's just bad actions anyway. That's what makes them bad people. But I don't really agree with calling people bad people anyway for that. It really depends. Again, it's like love the sinner, but not the sin. So yeah, it's very weird, but I've noticed that pattern. I don't know if that was on purpose or what. It's really fascinating. I think it's worth talking about because it's actually kind of commendable. I don't think any other show has really done that. Because on top of doing these dystopias and predictions, as well as like, just horrible situations, they're also making you watch a fucking technically an antagonist kind of character in each episode, which is just mind-blowing. Like, of all the things they're doing, it's just insanely clever. That's definitely adding to my admiration for the show. It's like, yeah, you wouldn't like these characters naturally, even if it were actually a normal story. But the fact that it's such a different story, and they're going through worse things than the crimes they're actually doing, it's like mind-blowing. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, I can't believe that. It's just insanely good writing, so yeah. I forgot to stop saying Anyway, that's my thoughts on that really. It's interesting, I do like Black Mirror so far. Yeah, really interesting patterns. Let's talk about another topic now. So there's been some news and it's a bit murky, like I don't see the source of this necessarily. Apparently in Israel and obviously Gaza, there's been the first phase of the peace plan announced by Trump, which is just, what? Like, why the fuck is he announcing it? Like, it's just such a bizarre thing, especially with like the government shutdown in the US. But then to go on social media and say blessed are the peacemakers, like showing solidarity with supposedly Muslim people. It's just, what? Like, my brain can't brain it at the moment. Because it's so fucking bizarre. This is a guy who's rounding up innocent, like, women, children, men as well, who have migrated to the US and putting them in concentration camps. I'm talking about peace. Are you fucking kidding me? And let's not forget, the people he's rounding up are probably some Muslims as well. So, probably Israelis, so let's not forget that, but it's so fucking dystopian. As much as he said a good thing here, it doesn't mean that he's exempt from anything. And it's the same if Netanyahu suddenly comes up with the same thing. But like, I don't think anyone's actually learnt their lesson here, especially like I heard before, like Trump saying, yeah, let's build on Gaza, let's build on the destroyed places. Like, I just don't get it. It's just more frustrating than it is relieving, because apparently this has happened before and Israel has essentially gone against that consistently. But I'm not so confident about this, in all honesty. You know, I still think aid still needs to be brought to Gaza, but I think the reason that this announcement was made is so that it distracts from the fact that they can still get away with it. They can still literally commit these atrocities. That's the only reason I think they're doing this. It's not to actually get the quote-unquote hostages, which again we haven't really seen. Now I don't know who these hostages are that Hamas apparently has. But even then, like, if there were, I'm pretty sure they would have handed them in. But the fact that Israel went as far as to label even the global summit for Tizan as a terrorist state and then torture the people on that who are giving humanitarian aid, it's just insane. Like, there's nothing peaceful about this. And even then, there's still world leaders who need to answer for their crimes, for standing by and letting this all happen for 2 years, and also longer because there are people who noticed it before. There's so much that needs to be done, and the peace deal is really only like the bare minimum. There's so much more that has to be done. So this is still a bad thing. It's because nothing is actually going forward. I haven't seen any other country talking about this, which is worrying. Like, they should be providing aid, they should be doing everything they can to ensure this quote-unquote peace plan works, if it is actually a peace plan. So that's weird, I haven't really seen the info on the peace plan. I don't know what that even is. My god, what a clusterfuck this is. So that's like, I have to endure more of this crap, unfortunately, because we can't trust war criminals who are doing this much damage. And we certainly can't trust Trump. I don't know what he's planning here, because it does seem suspicious. You know, again, to do that some U-turn. I don't know at this point, in all honesty. Yeah, maybe something could happen, but I'm not so confident as I keep saying. Yeah, that's a strange bit of news. I really don't know what to think at this point. I think it needs to be investigated and confirmed by more sources, not sources really, but countries, like maybe a UN or EU Parliament or something. Something needs to happen. Yeah. So let's move on. I haven't really got much else to say on this. Like a weird topic to talk about, kinda. It's about the existence of quote-unquote cringe. And I'm specifically addressing things that people generally consider cringe, and not really the sort that, it's like, say something silly or something. But it's more like divine art stuff. Like, why the hell do people keep making cringe? And making supposedly bad artwork. There's a very simple lot of reasons for this. Unfortunately, because it's been AI generated, it's now harder to really appreciate that the cringe was actually supposed to be that and serve as a greater good. But what people don't realise is that's sort of what leads people to AI, and so people are going to use it. In general, the existence of, again, cringe, as I say it, doesn't mean it is. It happens for many different reasons. Could be someone who's young and doesn't really understand better. Could be that they're just completely inexperienced in something like artwork, because I'm specifically addressing artwork, but there's also fan fiction writers, let's be honest. They have a somewhat big role in this too, in the quote-unquote cringe world. I don't consider it to be cringe, just to be clear. It's just about understanding people, being empathetic, and showing kindness rather than just utter hatred. So I think one of the big reasons that people obviously post said artwork to DeviantArt, how you say it, is because they don't know where else to place it. And to get feedback for it is pretty much almost impossible, because there's no way that can necessarily do that. So if you wanted feedback for said artwork, where else do you put that? Especially if it's online nowadays. And it usually is. Like, older artists never had this issue because they have to learn at some point and had to get feedback, and they most likely took an art class. So every artist before AI generated stuff literally had an advantage in the sense that they can probably easily get feedback and stuff. I could be wrong on that. It definitely feels like there's something like that going on. But there are definitely struggles with again people making their own artwork because there is this case of again being inexperienced. But there is another factor. There is such a thing as a disability that impacts art, and even can impact it on the cognitive level. But the main thing for me is when you see this stuff, it's more like, oh, there must be something going on here. There may be autism, there may be something else, especially if it's like the nature of the art as well, which is like completely different. Like if it's like romance or I don't know what else there is. It's usually romance, like shippings. These drawings are not like, for lack of a better term to describe it, it's like a 5-year-old's drawing. And it's not really meant as an insult, it just means, you know, you're on that level. I was myself for a long time. So I found a strategy that worked. But why do they appear like that? Autism, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, and there's probably other things that go into it. And I think on the creative side as well, you even have the struggle of people with like aphantasia. So there is a lot of things that can be going on to lead to obviously low quality content, and it's low quality to you. It might be high quality to someone else. It's important to note that as well. So the existence of cringe, as it so-called is, it's not exactly anything to do with like trying to be bad on purpose. You know, if people want to be bad on purpose, they draw it with a mouse or they draw it in paint or both. I've done that myself. I actually drew Clippy, my avatar, at the moment anyway. My Clippy avatar in paint. I put a trans flag behind it and then I did the Clippy on top. And it turned out really good, surprisingly. Even though I did it with just a mouse. It took under 10 minutes. Just a crazy part. I just think it's really interesting when we see this sort of stuff and it's like, okay, but you're judging it based on not understanding what's going on in this person's head. Yeah, there's sort of that thing in art anyway where sometimes to understand it you need to be in the person's head. But that can be true for a lot of things. I think if art is particularly confusing or disturbing, you do need to understand that. You know, that's a very real thing. And if you don't understand, that's your problem, I'm afraid. It's not the problem of the person with that set of artwork who made it. It's the problem of the people trying to understand it. So, again, there's very much an issue with certain artwork, but if you can change it, then yeah, there should be criticism. But based on sort of skill levels and even disabilities that people have, there is no reason to critique them. That's why I always find it really stupid when they use, well, some people on the internet anyway, they use like some kids' divine artwork, which also, by the way, could be kids as well. I forgot to mention that. But that's like a big thing because it does impact their life down the line potentially, and it can cause issues again if it's taken out of hand. If they become the target of like I don't know, a new meme or something, I think that's inherently wrong because that means that the person is just being targeted for something they can't control. Like, it's just sick. Like, age, disability, that it doesn't fucking matter really. And also meds, like for the people who are just in it. It's like barely the issue here. So again, it's weird. I don't get it when people criticise this stuff. It just doesn't work. And, you know, the better thing to do is to offer feedback. Feedback is pretty much king when it comes to trying to have someone improve, trying to help them improve. Otherwise, you're just the problem there. You're not actually helping them. That's one of the things that really frustrate me with being on DeviantArt. It's just one of those things, like, why the fuck are you saying all this about these people who you don't know a single thing about? And I'm starting to harass them and use them as some sort of scapegoat in this sense. Like, it's almost a criticism of your own work, or protection even. Protection. Did I say protection? That's not a word, is it? But yeah, it's literally a projection of your own insecurity. Because nobody in their right mind would criticise something like that without a very good reason. But even then, like, criticism sometimes viewed anyway as an attack. Some people will act differently to it, and it's not always a good thing when, ironically, the other people are attacking the said person because of their own issue, their own problem with artwork and making it. Like, it's so ridiculous. Just absurd levels of just fuckery. I don't know what to call it at this point. It's just so disappointing when I see this stuff, and when I used to see it actually, because I was on DeviantArt for quite a while. Man, it fucking sucks that that's become somewhat of a meme and an issue. Yeah, it's called like divine art quality stuff or something. It's just not good. So yeah, it's an interesting topic. I don't know what else to add to this really. The only good criticism is constructive criticism. That's I think all I can say. So yeah, let's move on. Well, you know how political parties in the UK are just suddenly trying to find dirt on Zack Polanski and even go as far as to label him as dangerous. Yeah, way to admit your wrongdoings. Because yeah, every accusation is a confession, and it's extremely telling, like with this, because it means that they're obviously hiding something if they're going to consider that the Green Party and the Zack Polanski are dangerous. It's frankly absurd. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous, and the thing you need to understand with that is it's literally an admission of their own wrongdoings, which is why I say every accusation is a confession, and that's becoming more and more true these days. You know what is actually dangerous though? The Reform Party, the Labour Party, and the Conservative Party. So these are actively the most dangerous parties in the UK currently. Labour no longer represents a middle leaning sort of party. Conservatives have been terrible whenever they've been in power, even for the people on the right. And Reform are going to be the same as the Conservative Party basically. And they are basically Conservatives 2.0. But it all goes without saying, if you're making these accusations, if you're making these claims, they need to be substantiated, and that means they need to be proven. And on many occasions I've proven why each party is dangerous. Labour seeks to destroy certain policies and even put people's human rights at risk, and especially like the pro-Palestine protests. People are being put in prison. So Labour are essentially corrupt. And the other thing is, Keir Starmer met with a literal fascist conference, a dinner party as well, surrounded by billionaires. If that isn't corruption, then what the fuck is corruption then? Genuinely tell me. If you want to know what the Conservatives did, they tried to take away benefits. They've obviously ruined the healthcare system and even a home ownership system. So I think it was Thatcher. Too young to remember, as I wasn't born at that time. I still don't think it was. No, I think I was too young because the young ones came out around that time, I think. But yeah. So there's a lot of dangers with Conservatives as well as racist stuff as well currently being said. And the reform of basically Conservatives as well. And we've already seen Nigel Farage say that disabled people should be forced into work, that disability benefits should be cut. I mean, we've already seen that. I think he even says something about special needs children not deserving any sort of help or special skills or something. I could be wrong on that. But also, his own funded company, GB News, is essentially a Trump bootlicking company. Like, they literally had a stream where this guy was fucking on the host, just saluting President Trump as he was coming through. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's just insanity. There's many problems that these parties have that I haven't even touched on. Not to mention there's obviously some inherent sexism and racism within it. No doubt, like, there's other things. But the point is, when you look at what the Green Party are doing, it is very much calling them out. It's calling out every single party that is standing for inequality. Because the Green Party wants to address inequality and basically dismantle it. And that's what they're scared of. And it means that the Green Party are further in the right here and are going to be stronger. That's just objectively so. And there was this other thing I realised as well on listening to. I started listening to Bob Politics with Polanski recently, and he's had a few people on which are interesting, like Gary Economics, which is fascinating. But he's had Owen Jones on, which I'd never even heard of before, to be honest, and apparently he's been like a lifelong Labour supporter from childhood. And I think I could be wrong, could have heard it wrong maybe. I think he confronted them on the situation in Gaza, and they just refused to outright admit that children are being shot in the head. But it's fucking dark, and the fact people are willing to choose welfare units over actual testimonies and actual video evidence and facts is really telling of how corrupt Labour have become. So it sort of begs the question of, what do we do here? Well, I think each party at the moment is sort of like a criminal. Because at this point, the amount of terrible things they're doing just amount to piles of atrocities and inequality. There's so many things wrong with it. And I was trying to think of a better term for this, but I guess every party is on trial. And it looks like the winning hand really goes to, I guess, the Green Party and potentially even independent parties, but even then, you'll still find problems, but they're not nearly as big as these. And, you know, people making a big deal of the Green Party's supposed removal from NATO over the nuclear weapons problem. That is the least of our worries. Like, and I think Zack even said in the interview that he's not going to leave NATO until the Ukraine-Russia war is done. But even then, there's still time. So there's still time to change. And I think when people confront him, and he is open to talking about this, by the way, I'm not sure he's ever denied an opportunity like that. He can have his mind changed. And that's what you want in someone who's a political leader. Whereas you look at everyone else, and their minds are not being changed. They're still in the gutter, they're still head in the sand. It's so fucking backwards. So backwards, they might as well be gay. Just saying. So, it really shows that we're in a situation where, for some reason, criminals are being glorified into political positions. And it's actually scary, and even like members of parliament. So what Zack is doing is actually the only and true thing. It's the thing that the UK needs, the policy that we need, the only one who's actually going to address things properly. And I say properly because these other parties are not. Even your party is definitely up to criticism here because of how badly it's run and just the things they can't agree on. Like, it's just absolute insanity. There's even like a culture of sexism there, so it's not necessarily good for women's rights. But this is the situation we're in at this point, and we can't ignore it. Again, every other political party is on trial here because they're accusing Zack of something and they can't actually find anything against him. So that means Zack is in the right. That's how it logically goes. Anyone with half a brain will realise the amount of honesty that you need to be in Zack's political position is a lot. You need a lot of honesty. And you also just need a lot of balls as well. But these other parties are instead putting up a smokescreen and suddenly crying in the audio like it's Zack's fault. Zack is dangerous. Like, it's literally crying wolf. But there is no fucking wolf. That's what's really crazy about this. So yeah, I pretty much said all I can here. I try not to get political, but at this point, it's kind of funny watching this unfold. The amount of accusations are levied against the Green Party and Zack. That's because they know that he's essentially going to become Prime Minister at some point. But they just don't know it yet. I'll repurpose that meme kind of interestingly. Anyway, let's move on. So, there's a topic I've been starting to think about, and for some reason my mic isn't doing a noise gate. If some reason it stopped, I don't know what's happened there. Have to fix that. There we go, it should have fixed now. Yep, there we go. But there's a very strange thing I've been thinking about my own hobbies. So as people might know, I also do artwork. Also I do music. But artwork is one of those things where I never really quite grasped it. Never fully grasped it. And it was because I just don't have the ability to do it properly. Look at all my old pieces of artwork, it's like, oh my fucking god, that's cringe, that's bad. And it took me a long time to figure out what I actually wanted to do. Because I clearly couldn't do character drawings, which is something that I wanted to try. And it never worked out. So I stopped doing that for a while and sort of tried to figure out what to do, and then eventually I tried it again, and same thing. Just complete failure. And even looking at some of my images here, like it's horrific how bad it is. And I even tried to make my own tattoo and stuff. I have made images that have been like, yeah, that works. I've made a fluffy, cute Tails face, made plenty of Tails artwork. I've even done like a reference to chinning. It's something that rabbits do. They show their lightness of things by chinning. I did that one with Tails and Cream. I was like, it's very adorable. And also done a piece of artwork in my own style, but then a sort of more humanoid furry creatures. It's very interesting. I've done quite a few different things. But overall, find myself I just fucking hate what I make all the time. Even my own tattoo is a bit kind of, yeah. Like it kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. And I even have like a black and white version of it, and it looks better than the coloured one. I'm not good with colours either. It's concerning because I can't do character drawings, just full stop. I've tried many times. Even looking at, again, some of the artwork I made for like... Actually, that one turned out okay. It has to be drawn, right? I think it has to be drawn. Yeah, and traced, because I do try to use character models as in place of a reference, because a reference won't always do it. It's so bizarre, and I generally can't do it. Okay, my audio's reset again. Let's fix that. Is that embarrassing? Is that even... This diaries of this autistic thing, it's bad. Christ. Yeah, every time I look at this again, I sort of cringe. And there's even older artwork, which I'm not going to release, which is just far worse, and this is just the stuff I've seen improvements in. But this is only character drawings, which is the interesting thing, and I've realised I didn't like them, so... Why did I put my drawing tablet back? I was supposed to use it. So I realised that I needed to look for something else, and weirdly enough, it comes from my dad's side of the family. But my granddad is actually a landscape artist. I didn't ever think in my lifetime that I'd ever be interested in that, because they were impressive, the artwork I've seen. But I didn't really get the idea. Like, it wasn't really something that appealed to me. But then I started watching anime, and it was like, holy crap. Having grown up on The Simpsons, seeing landscapes like that that is insane. And it's always so impressive when you look at anime landscapes, and that's why I decided that my style would be anime. So I kept looking into like different shows and stuff, and found even more landscapes there. There was like plenty in Pokemon, which is probably one of the better animes out there. Definitely has a lot of episodes, but One Piece, best anime. Also has some really good environments here and there. But the general thing with that is I'd like to see landscapes sort of more than the character drawings and animation, which is not to say that they're bad. It's just to say that my interest is completely different to everyone else's. I just find myself more interested in the landscapes rather than characters. Again, not to say the characters are bad. I do find them fascinating at times. It is so just, I guess, defeating when you try to draw characters almost your whole life and you just end up not being able to in the end. And it's even more proven with my own fucking series, Events of Turn, which is where I'm getting to. I think there is a high probability of maybe just cancelling it, but there is a possibility I can just do something different. I could do like templates. I can make sort of these lazy style things where I draw the characters first and then do the facial expressions. That's a fucking word, expressions. With an R. But I do those and I put them onto a background I made. So it's like I knock out two birds with three stones. No, that's not the term. I do something like that anyway. And I basically am able to portray a story with these, again, preset character sprites. And not only that, I can make them and fix them whenever I can, if I try to fix them, and make them into just a comic series. Again, where the characters just appear in like a setting. Just copy it over into a comic pane and, text bubbles, background, and I'm done. rather than the one that I've been doing, which is basically drawing the characters every single fucking time, which take hours, by the way. This is the big thing here. It takes hours to draw a character, a single one, and I save so much time. And I can focus on backgrounds, which take under an hour usually. But it's weird because I suddenly have this niche for doing anime backgrounds, and I'll try and look like things of time. I'm pretty sure I have it open, right? Yeah, I'm surprised I have it open actually. So I didn't really expect that. Also, my favourite drawn character at the moment is probably Claire McFleur. It's based on Troy McClure from Simpsons. But she's translated. And the thing I fucking love about her is she has sort of an attitude, and she's basically the opposite of Troy McClure in a sense. Same sort of setting, like presenting stuff, but like different. It's interesting. But where's the comic? It's not released. Where are they? Soft reality, past dioramas. Like, the introductions first. It's like there's so many awful fucking images from that. Oh wait, yeah, it's like the very first introduction, sort of introducing the world, and actually some of the artwork's decent. Yeah, but it's mainly the environmental stuff. The dog is fine, the first face is fine, the squirrel is good. The sort of like mixed gender faces are odd, and so the two guys kissing, sort of making kissing faces. Bodies are okay, a bit. Actually, I'm really chubby. The fuck? Okay, they're horrible then. Not that I hate chubby people, actually, it's kind of first, but anyway. It's so off-putting when I see shit like I've drawn. I almost thought I saw the six finger. What the fuck? AI generated? But yeah, the environmental stuff. Like I drew an earth, I drew the sun, I drew the moon really badly. Really, it's a rush job though, because I had to colour everything in. There's a meteor, it actually looks pretty good, and even like a pink yellow planet, see that. Explosions, yeah, mushroom clouds. Scales of Justice look bad. The hammer looks kind of bad. The angel looks alright, and so does the devil. And there's like a pseudo Earth sort of thing. And there's the instruction characters there. The Observer looks good. I based him on Rabu from Polanski, obviously. Dork as well. I drew Dork with a beard, and also not to be able to see his face because that's all the mystery. But it's like a very old dog. There's like a whole story behind him, and the Observer. And there's Emmett, there's Drac. I think both look okay, but a bit weird. Shiganagan is. I don't know what I was doing with Shiganagan. I know the hair wanted to be based on Zack from Futurama. He still turned okay. Mystery character, 3 question marks, it's okay. It's a mystery. Gilio is awful. I can't draw, and I improved his look in his comic. Lifebringer is weird as well. Climax Flow is fine. Probably the best one, as I said. The Merc, not great. I changed her design in the end. Anyway, back to the comic though. Here's the introduction. Like, the first part is introducing the world, and then I introduce the characters. Yeah, the drawings are bad. The older lady's kind of okay. Again, not very good. Yeah, drawing of him is fine. Shiganagan is awful. Naked Shiga. Actually, the environmental, as I said, is like really interesting. I seem to do that quite well. I've never really drawn like houses with windows before, which is weird to say. I think I have done it at some point, but not to this extent. Even like the solar panel looks pretty good. It's just really basic artwork. It's like comic style, which I was probably aiming for. Some of the backgrounds are not great, and probably shadows in them. there's weird stuff here and there. Also, chess games took ages to draw. Gotta remember that I was trying to make a unique style of chess, and I based it based on made it based on the dimensions, basically the points. I think it was. So based on their ranks, there's 0 is pawn. Was it the lines? It might have been the lines actually. Can't remember. I tried to make them distinguish. It's kind of hard to see. It's not great. And the image after that, I stopped colouring after that because it took so fucking long. Yeah. Okay, looks okay. Look, looks better. And then the new advertisement thing. Yeah. Emmett looks okay. She looks okay on that one. Yeah, Emmett looks okay on that one. There's really nothing special. Whenever I look back at this, and again, she sort of same thing. Yeah, it looks much better there. Actually, looks like a fucking housemate. Oh, God. And the crinkled face at the end is just, yeah, it's one of my moments of genius. And the baby granddad thing, that's a funny joke. Yeah, like, there's so much I could improve. Just can't be bored. I think one of the flaws I see with this as well is like, there's a lot of talking. That's sort of in character for, I guess, Emmett, because Emmett's a scientific genius. Yeah, it's like the intro, and I did the skit, the thing, the pasta around, just like how I do all the skit stuff, which is actually pretty funny. It's probably one of my funniest jokes, in my opinion. It's just going to war with time, and then the time-related jokes after. It's pretty good. I wish that sort of blew up, but it didn't. Yeah, the character drawings are meh. They're not really, oh, what do I call the fucking evolution? Because I named it, I'm gonna have to put a drawing type it away talking to them. Homo novus, that was it. But the people in past diorama are not Homo novus at all. They're still Homo sapien. So they don't appear like the other characters, and that was a challenge in itself to draw because it went against my art style. It did take me a while to draw this one alone. I couldn't get the face right for the commander here, so Voosh. Yeah, it turned out okay. The skeletons too turned out pretty good. I was surprised actually, so I'd never drawn a skeleton before. It actually turned out fine. Bizarre, especially given the amount of filling it was. Technically, though, I used the background for the outlines, actually, the outside outlines, to draw the insides, which is just one of those art things I pick up. That's how I managed to colour it in. It's like a quicker way to do it. Yeah, it's overall decent comic, I think. But it goes without saying that the amount of time that took is insane, and it just wasn't worth it in the end. I think what I might do going forward, rather than just give up on the series, is I'll just do the character templates, as I said. You know, I saw someone on DeviantArt actually a while ago. I can't remember who it was, but they used to make like these Sonic comics, was it? No, that might not have been. It's like OCs, I think, actually, more OCs sort of thing. They made comics using templates again, using the character thing, where they just line up the characters, have text bubbles above them, like obviously made characters and redrawn them, and just added facial expressions, and that just works. I think that might be what I have to do to just get this done. You know, the document that I have for events of turn of all the ideas I have is an insane amount. It's actually crazy. 89,000 characters. And how many words does it say? Nope, thanks word. You useless pile of shit. You change things. So I can't view the word count. But that's a lot there. Even have plans for like if it ever becomes an animated series, which I doubt it won't. I've got ideas for music, like bands I want licensed and stuff. Definitely going to be metal based, I think. We've got like outro music out in areas, Black Sabbath, Periphery, Dragon Force, Architects, so this is Mastodon, Parkway Drive. Intro music's definitely Gojira as Another World, because it's based in a dystopian future. That's the thing about this series. And Another World is basically about again a dystopian future where you lose one planet and you have to find another. And yeah, you just don't have a plan B, and you find out this other planet's been trashed, and it's like, oh, right. Another good choice for music is probably Got Life by Korn. It's a fucking amazing track. It fits so well with the series as well, because of what it is. It actually accurately describes some of the lore that I actually haven't gone into. It perfectly describes it, I think. It's about that topic. So yeah. Also have some epic songs like Buried Tomorrow, Scepters. Yeah, Scepters. People call it Spectres for some reason, but it's actually Scepters. Arch Enemy, The Eagle Flies Alone. Judas Priest, Breaking Law, Electric Eye. And Parkway Drive, Carrion. What was Carrion anyway? I remember the song name, but I don't remember the song. I imagine it's really good, listen to it back. The background music I have like jazz, that's the idea. Also some fall for like really Celtic dance bits, because fall music is just amazing. Amazing at times, and yes, carry on. That'd work as an intro. Yeah, pretty good. It's just tons of ideas and stuff, and it's hard to again put onto paper with not necessarily the ideas, but the execution. And the only way I can not fuck it up is by actually making templates, as I keep saying. I've already got the comic pages, I've already got a sort of background for the comic, which is unique in itself. Making templates and just drawing the backgrounds on them, instead of having characters do actions like doing an L on their forehead and a finger on their bum, it's going to be much easier. Even then, like the hand expressions. Also, just showing the top body, like that's all I need to do, but I could do the full character just in case. But the top body is all I need to show, and with the arms, you know, you just show the chest. And the arms could be wherever they want. Like, again, it could be in their bum, so it doesn't fucking matter. But that's the idea. Something just know if people have any thoughts about that. About some art advice, like how do you cut enough corners here that is comfortable, especially with what I've got, which is an obvious disability, but again, paying for diagnosis and I still haven't got one. Where is it? Thanks NHS. You're not doing your job. So I can't exactly get an excuse for things. Why is this like paper in my pocket? That's my shopping list. Huh. I have those in there. Strangely, you didn't stain anything. Oh, that's weird. I thought the ink would have gone everywhere, but no. Yeah, that's the idea. Artwork is still a problem, and with this current background I'm working on, which is taking a while as well, I'm going to try and animate it. Possibly I might animate the podcast image I have. It's just going to take a while, I think, and we'll wait and see really what happens. I'm also trying to go simpler with these rather than do multiple layers for every single thing. I'm going to try and do one layer per texture and do the shadows in between. So it just kind of works. Anyway, I'll have to do like shadows separately, I think, just to safely do it. Like looking at the grass and stuff, how I do that, I'll put a shadow on that thing. I'd have to do a layer to be safe, because you can't risk doing that on the grass itself. It'd be particularly foolish, especially if you need to erase some stuff. So That's one of the only complications, but I think I'm going to be able to do it for the most part. Yeah, that's an update on artwork and events of time. If I ever get around to that. I've got so many ideas that it's just kind of crazy. You know, I've even had an idea based on a dream I had that was actually pretty genius. Yeah, let's move on to the next topic. So here's a question I saw on TikTok, which is from a shorts video. There's someone confronting a guy wearing a Palestine t-shirt in Britain for some reason, and this guy confronting him is Israeli. For some stupid fucking reason, he decided to record that, and like nothing really happened, from what I could tell. I just wanted to address the point that you made, the Israeli guy. You're not Palestinian, so why do you care? Are you fucking kidding me? How can you be that disconnected to think that people can't get involved in situations like this? That you have to be fucking incredibly stupid to realise that. You know, it's like you don't need to be African to understand some of the atrocities that go on in Africa. Like fucking hell, you remember the Oxfam shit, you remember all these like sex scandals, like it's insane, and to say that you shouldn't talk about it because it's their issue, it's just so fucking disconnected. You're allowed to criticise these things, even from a distance. But the people who go there in person, get to the bottom of it, they're more worthy of respect, but their opinion does somewhat matter more, especially if they get to the truth. So, you have a situation where all these problems, they just occur all over the world, and you feel like you have to speak out. That's why I got into politics to begin with, and it was only a recent thing. You know, I'm not into US politics, but I got into it. I'm not into the politics around war, even, like Palestine or even Ukraine versus Russia. But I got into it anyway. Because it's worth getting into. It's something that can give you answers to things that you're wondering. And not to mention, if there is a problem, you can call them out on it, you can have a discussion. There's ways that it needs to be addressed. Look at like the war, for example, Russia and Ukraine. You know, Ukraine is obviously like quite not on fire in the literal sense, but actually they're doing damage to Russia. That's what I mean. So they're just on a roll, and so are NATO at the moment anyway. But I stopped following that a few weeks ago, so I don't know if there's been any updates. But it's worth getting into that because you need to learn that war isn't a pretty thing at all. You know, they've got footage of the soldiers in Ukraine, body cam footage, where they're actually shooting people. They do censor it for some weird reason, but you know, some Russian guy peeks. I remember it was like in a tunnel or something. He peeks. He looks like he's drunk out of his fucking mind, and then he gets shot. Yeah, the Russian guy gets killed, essentially, and that's censored for some reason. Anyway, the point is that it's not pretty, but that's where you need to discuss it. You know, you need to make war less about killing each other and more about how you address the problems, like how you stop an invader, which Russia is. Russia is an invading country. And that's why people discuss it. That's why people put their opinions on it, that's why people put their thoughts on it. In the same way that Trump is actually invading the US by taking supposedly immigrants but also minorities into a thing called detention centres. I can't remember what it's called, but they abduct people and put them into a concentration camp to potentially be tortured and killed. And yeah, it's like, what do you mean we can't talk about that? they're arresting most likely even like British people. Like, there's no doubt black people who obviously are black, but they're British. They're born British, they have the accent, they have the knowledge of the culture, and then they're arrested by ICE. And it's just fucking dangerous. It's absolutely absurd. And what do you mean we can't say anything about it? Why do we care if we're not directly involved? Because these people's lives matter. You know, if you disconnect humanity from a human, I'd argue you're not being human, you're just being a monster. And that's what it comes down to in the end. And that's literally the difference between someone who's pro-Israel and someone who's pro-Palestine. Because pro-Palestinian people are pro-humanity. And no doubt probably pro-evidence as well. So they prefer evidence over anything else. The pro-Israel is pro-propaganda, pro-misanthropic, I guess. It's just all sorts of fucked up. Not to mention it's like extreme far right as well. So it's just really, it's a stupid question to say, like, why do you care if you're not there? Because we don't want to be there. And we don't want to be in that situation either. That's why. You know, I see the situation in the US, and it's so obvious that literally nobody wants to be there. Like in this situation with ICE and Trump. You know, there are plenty of Americans who want to flee the country because Trump is making life an actual living hell for them. And if that isn't a human rights violation, then what is? That's something you have to answer honestly. And something you have to answer with hard evidence. So that's that topic really. Let's move on. I've made my quitting alcohol video, I think, over 3 months ago now. Maybe 2 months actually. And I may have left out some points in there. I wanted to clear one up anyway that I might have missed just now. So I made a lot of points there about the social stigma of it. But one of the things I don't think I mentioned is, in fact, I think I've got an allergic reaction on my finger. Oh, fuck. That's weird. Anyway. Oh, I don't know what I'm even allergic to. What the fuck? Anyway. The thing I wanted to talk about really was actually to do with how everything is sort of perceived, and when you mention something like, oh, I'm an ex-alcohol addict, and that's typically met with like sort of silence or welcome in a social setting, but it's not always met that way, and it just leaves me worried because it means that people are thinking something like, oh, you know, you don't drink alcohol, that you must be weak in some way. But that's not actually true, because I remember before alcohol was also somewhat fine, you know, mentally and physically, but even then I still had issues. And I still had issues on alcohol itself, so it didn't create a fortress for me like people make it out that it does. So the ex-alcohol addict sort of thing is, yeah, like there needs to be more supportive responses, and this is why, again, I don't like alcohol. You know, the people who genuinely struggle with these sort of things will get a bad name because people just view that as a weakness rather than a strength. Like, being able to quit something is a strength inherently. You know, there's no doubt about it. It is just literally true. So you really can't ignore that fact, and ignoring it really is just not being human. It's just being a monster in that case. But it does really frustrate me when that sort of thing happens. It's like, oh, well, that sucks. You know, I'm always side by side with alcohol addicts, so I completely understand it. You know, even when I was drinking alcohol, that was my fault. I always thought, yeah, you know what, they're doing a good thing. You know, I can't personally tolerate alcohol in the way that it's currently marketed and stuff. You know, it's even on like advertisements, which is stupid. You know, it should be illegal. But anyway, the other thing is to do with being just an ex-drinker, in my case, like an ex-casual drinker. And I think there is a perception, again, that's probably worse than the alcohol addicts one, just because, you know, someone who initially drank and you're suddenly like an outcast or a weirdo for not drinking. And it also feels very alien when I, well, go into like live streams or something, and there's someone drinking there, or they actively mention that they drink, which even in itself is awkward. Because it's like, I feel so out of place here, like, I don't feel like I've fit in here. But that's like the least of my worries, because even then I'm doing the right thing here, in my opinion anyway. And I'm doing my best, literally. So that's what's more important to me in that case. I don't understand why people can have this reaction of like, oh, life is so boring without alcohol, you must be depressed as fuck or something. Well, hell no. That's quite the opposite actually. I think I've felt less depressed since quitting alcohol. I do have moments of burnout, but that's awesome. Yeah, it's different for everyone. Like, even if you do know someone who gets depressed without alcohol, it's because of something else, more likely than not. So again, it makes no sense when there's this criticism of, oh, you must be weak, or you must be just a real pussy, or something like that. It just doesn't exist. So again, people have different reasons for quitting it. You know, a pregnant woman, yeah, you have to not get drunk. You know, that's to save your fucking child's life and not to have them suffer later in life as well. Yeah, drinking fucks them up. But for other people, it's like there's always this perception where you're just, again, an outcast. You're like a very unusual person for, again, doing the right thing, for not touching alcohol. And I do get people now, actually I forgot to mention this, even now, where people forget that I don't drink. I've not been offered drinks, but I have been asked if, like, in the shops, if I want to go down a certain aisle, which is like, no, I don't drink. But annoyingly, they put my favourite, actually non-alcoholic drink there, which is Ventimans. And this is common in a few shops actually, it's not always the case, but for some reason it's the case in Asda. Like, one of the other shops, like, it's not there. But in Asda, it's always in the alcohol section, which is weird. Because I know that Ventimans do like tonics, but they're not that common, I don't think. So it doesn't make any sense. It's weird. Anyway, I think this conversation is something that needs to be had, and I think there needs to be alcoholic people who just openly admit, like, yeah, you know, alcohol is bad, and, you know, it's not good to harass someone who's quitting alcohol, especially if it's to a benefit to their life and to others. You know, as I said, there was cases where alcohol can just cause people to become right arseholes, or even just domestic abusers of all things. And that's something that's pretty much demonstrated in evidence, I think. So of course, many people want to not touch it, and let alone those that touch it, they want to quit. And it takes a lot of strength as well, because also you need to replace that with something else. Yeah, as I said, I try to replace it with like drinks, or like normal drinks, I mean, and have it that way. Like, find a tasty drink. Like, even fucking chocolate, like oat milk is just, that's good on its own as well, and cold. It's just really good. Again, it's finding those replacements, because that can be the most difficult part. And I'm not sure about non-alcoholic stuff, it's still something that I'm on the fence about, because technically it still supports alcoholic products. But they're so shit that they might as well not exist. You know, I've had a non-alcoholic wine once which tasted fucking awful. It tasted like it had gone off before I even got it. and I didn't like it. And they're giving it away, and somehow someone likes it, but it's so bizarre. And then I tried non-alcoholic cider, which tastes like shit, fatches and everything, and I'm wondering, it tastes like apple juice. That's not what cider tastes like. It tastes like cider tastes like apple juice with that strong alcoholic scent. But that's, I wouldn't call that non-alcoholic cider, I'd call that apple juice. You know, I might as well drink apple cider, which itself is tastier. It's so ridiculous that companies can get away with that sort of thing, though. You know, because there shouldn't be that scenario. You know, why are products so shit tasting when they're trying to mimic the thing that they're supposedly mimicking? And the only beer I ever tried that was non-alcoholic, I tried many non-alcoholic beers even, the only one I liked was Cobra, and even then that wasn't the best one. It didn't taste nearly anything like beer. It did have the sort of caramel tasting bit. Yeah, I'm on the fence about that, and I'd rather support a company that actually supports getting people out of alcoholism, basically. You know, if they start making non-alcoholic drinks, sure, that's a good thing, and I'd support that. But that definitely, I think, requires work, because again, the taste is not there yet. And arguably the taste is probably the best thing about alcohol, and the burn and the effect that it gives. So that needs to be addressed for sure, needs to be discussed, and we need to find solutions. You know, usual. What's the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, like cravings. So one of the things that any ex-alcoholic would know that I've encountered is the cravings. I definitely had them for the first few weeks, and even though I was drinking like once a week, twice a week maybe, depending on how I feel, there's a fly, so I need to eat my fucking rice cakes and yogurt. I'm sure I could put my fan on it. There we go, got a desk fan, it's useful. There we go, yeah. But I have occasional cravings here and there. It's like, oh, someone's drinking and I smell that. It's like, yeah, it smells great, but is it worth it though? No. So I always try to remember that. And even then, like, I'm fine with just Coca-Cola and just a natural drink. And I'm trying to find different drinks to try in the end, because Fentimans are stupidly expensive. And there's Karma drinks, which I really like. I've had a few of their drinks before. I think I tried all of them actually, except for like the ginger stuff. But the Zero Cola is amazing, no sweetness. I don't think it even has any caffeine, which is mainly the appeal for me because I can't drink much caffeine. But that was great, and I'm going to get some more in the future. But I want to try their new products now. They've released 2 new ones, tropical and raspberry something. No, it's cherry, I think, actually, cherry soda. So I'm very interested in that. And again, it's all natural. So there's a win-win there. But we really need more products like that, and we need ways for people to transition out of alcohol. Like, we actually just need some sort of, like, not that it's good though, like some sort of vape situation. You know, the way that people can get out of smoking by vaping. Well, again, it's not good. It can be helpful to have that way to transition out. And it does genuinely have a good effect on you, I think, in the long run anyway, because it just teaches you that you can reduce your habit of things. And it just goes in steps, and then, you know, once you're out of smoking, you can start getting out of vaping. Just do less puffs per day and start to train yourself to have a better stress response. You know, it could be things like stimming, or even trying to find a, I don't know, like stress thing, like stress related mindset. Like mine used to be imagining myself on a beach relaxing, because it is one of the relaxing things actually. I don't mind white noise. The white noise of the beach is nice. It's always so unique as well. Being on a beach, there's so much to look at, usually anyway. Yeah, that's pretty much how you can handle that. Anyway, I better move on. So yeah, that's what I think of alcohol. It's a fun topic I just sort of come up with. Black Mirror predictions. So I'm on season 3, episode 6 at the moment. Not even played it yet, so I have to wait and see with that. It got me thinking, after seeing a post about supposedly European Parliament, I think it is, trying to ban meat-related names for plant-based products. And it got me thinking, that has to be a Black Mirror episode, right? You're only allowed to eat one thing and you just see it all around you. There's like people with intolerances and suffering who are just trying to hide it or something. And then it gets revealed that they're essentially a waste products, and they're probably even used in these products like that they're trying to sell as like a monopoly sort of thing. Like it's the only product on the market, and it's actually made of people who have an allergy. And this causes more people to have an allergy, so it just ends in a cycle. Like there's probably something dystopian like that that's already in the show, but I don't know. But that got me thinking, like, what else could there even be? You know, the show goes to those dark places and evil concepts, and it does do a decent job of doing that though. But there's probably this darker side where someone finds out the truth as well. Like, again, looking at my own idea here of what might an episode look like, where it's like, oh, they banned everything plant related, and suddenly it's like, yeah, people are obviously being corrupt by it. Also, it has to be mainly obese people, because let's be honest, people obese having heart attacks is like a dystopian future where these people get so many health problems from this that it's just everywhere. It's unavoidable. You see someone every second having a heart attack because they decided that plants were banned. You see people having like meat-related drinks, like fucking really disgusting, horrific stuff. It's almost like a, I wouldn't say body horror, that's not the term, food horror. Like literally. And there could even be like dystopian things like, you know, those restaurants where you pick out the lobster. Imagine that with other animals, because there is some with like cows and stuff and like that, but pigs, chickens are like doing it in front of you. I just imagine being brought into that world, like someone, I don't know how you'd write a character into that world who isn't familiar with it, maybe a different culture, I don't know. Maybe even spoil, I don't know, but something like that. It's like you can make this really dystopian world around animal rights concepts and health concepts. You know, just two things at once, because Black Mirror does do a lot of that. They do these multi-layered stories. You know, like the last episode I watched, the one in the army. Yeah, what was it called? It's not demons. Roaches, that's it. But yeah, where there's like roaches and stuff. But the story could be really interesting. Trying to think, because I'm concentrating here. Yeah, it's very weird. So, it's an interesting concept for sure. Oh crap. Just went backwards into them. Yeah, I'm trying to think, what else could you flesh out the episode with? I'm not really sure though, to be honest. Just trying to think. What else could you add to that sort of thing? Also, you need some like evil people like Capsus, yeah, for sure. You need like CEOs and stuff, and there being like advertisements, like all this different shit where it's like tempting you into that thing. There's no alternative because basically one company owns it, that's the other thing. One company owns everything. That's also a dystopian as fuck concept, like holy crap. Like that needs to be a thing. Like if that isn't an episode already, it should be. And I've also said a pretty good vegan message, in my opinion. That's probably the way that meat companies want it to be. There's like meat lobbyists. So it'll be interesting. I don't know what other things it will be. Not really. But I've already sort of found dystopian ideas myself when I was trying to make my Events of Turn series. I predict that there will be like, because we already have transgender people and they're fine, obviously. But I predict there'll be like some monopoly or something, or capitalist that essentially uses that as a marketing thing to get rich, basically. And that's the bad part, but also, imagine if you can transition everything else like on the fly. Like you can pick your race, you can even pick your age, I guess, and appearance, like a customization thing. Like, oh my god, imagine if you could just customize yourself in real life, in real time, and instantly. Oh my god, that'd be so fucking creepy. So you'll see it like, there'd be like someone coming up to you like, hey, we met last night, do you remember? Like, no. You know, we had a tomato cocktail or something. It's like, oh yeah, but you look a bit different. It's like, yeah, here's the new character customization thing. It's like, what the fuck? And then you get people misusing it, obviously. And you find that there's a news report on that. Someone saying, oh yeah, there's been a horrific crime last night where someone actually brutally murdered someone with that. And yeah. So there's a lot of different ways you can sort of spin that idea, but trans aging as well is like one of the creepy things. I don't know how they'd address it in the actor sense, because you'll definitely have like, those cases where, you know, how do you get a child actor to play this really creepy dystopian transitional age thing? Like, we're talking like people going from old to young, that sort of thing. That sort of incentivizes this. What do you call it? The paedophilia. That's it. I can't remember the term for some reason. It's like, it's real creepy stuff, and that's one of the other topics. It's uncomfortable, but you know, it could very well happen. It's not impossible, especially if China has supposedly found this fucking anti-Asian thing. Yeah, so it's definitely something to keep note of as well. It's something that could happen, and if it does, we need to be prepared. Obviously, like we all should be, even with AI. But I don't know. Those sort of predictions anyway for that. It's just interesting, like Batman as usual. You know, reckon I could write a few episode ideas, but I don't know. I'm just given two there, which I'm almost certain don't exist yet. But then again, there's 4 more series, so it's always possible. Hopefully, there might be something like that. So it's something. Let's move on to the next topic. So there's a post on last short time about the people's top 3 characters, and I often do a post, I think. I can't even, I might as well just do like a response sort of thing. Share my thoughts on what my favourite characters are, and this is actually kind of a hard one to do without going through like a list of TV shows that I've watched, movies. The movies are probably a bit harder to decide because they're very short. You don't really get a full character story in that necessarily. There are definitely characters I would rank higher than others just because of how different they are and how unique they could be. So I'll try and look at the TV shows like, oh, that's a percent ones. Why the fuck is Boyd showing me that shit? Okay. So I'll go through it. I've got quite a lot there. Oh yes, okay. This one I just remembered, but yeah, it's actually a good one. So I know my number 1 already, which is a weird choice. You wouldn't expect it. So number 2, I think this. I'll do honorable mentions as well. want to say, because I even have to include like TV shows as well. Let's be honest. Just trying to think, looking at these. For some reason I've got movie review in my TV folder. That's interesting. That's another character actually. I'll mention. So yeah, just sort of figure stuff out. Let's see. Because the thing with favourite characters is I think they need to be important or relevant and also just do something completely different. So I've already got like quite a few in mind in terms of like characters I like, whether it's like emotionally or logically. Yeah, there might be two from the same series. So I just realised it's super interesting. Let's see, any more? Still looking. Actually, there was one I was going to add, but I'll explain why I didn't add it. Great Teacher Onizuka. For anyone that's ever seen that anime, you know it's a weird one. It's a roller coaster. It's like so bizarre because you don't really expect it exactly. Like it's one of the strangest animes ever. And it's simply because of this concept that there's a teacher who helps the students with everything. But the teacher happens to be a fucking pervert and probably beautiful. So it's very fucking concerning. So that's why I'm not ending it. Because even though the teacher has good intentions, it's not the best thing really. So yeah. That's really that. I'm trying to think, is there any others? I'm trying to think if there's any from JoJo, because that's appeared here. Any character from JoJo, I think, is worth mentioning. This character. Although I'm very partial to Stone Ocean, I don't think any of the characters have really stand out in my opinion. So I don't know. It's hard to say. King of the Hill. Is there anyone? Actually, yeah, like I'd say Hank is an honourable character. You know, he may be conservative, but he's respectful. And that's one of the things that's so missing in these types of characters. You know, you get the grumpy old guys and stuff, grumpy just dads or whatever. But Hank is like, even though he's quite conservative still, he's actually caring enough that he'll literally like respect you. Like I remember that episode with Dale's father. It was one of the best sort of representations of that, I think. It's really interesting. And then there's also the episode with the drag queen, which is also really respectful about, which Peggy wasn't. That was a surprising thing. It's like she was willing to misgender, but Hank was like correcting her. It's crazy. My Hero Academia. Is there anyone in that? I don't think so. But My Hero Academia is good, and I think the guy, what's his name? That's the fire guy. He does a good thing in the end. Sorry, spoiler. It's going to be spoilery, I think. So I'll see, close your ears if you're worried about them. But yeah, he just makes up for it in the end, I think. Which is a good thing. Just trying to think of any others. Pokemon, I'll briefly mention Ash. Ash is definitely a worthy mention. I do like Ash. He's definitely got a good heart, even though he's a goofball. What else? I don't know about Red Dwarf exactly. I really like Crichton because he's an entertaining character. For sure. I don't think there's any others. Evangelion, is there any? Not really. So I can't recall any. The Spy X Family, yeah, Anya for sure. Definitely a funny character. Just going through some other honourable mentions. Also, Frankie in that is kind of funny. Trying to think, Steins Gate, God, Ruka, and probably Mayuri, like for sure. Like they're both cute. Mayuri's cuter probably, but I really like Ruka. Yeah, she's a pretty accurate representation of a trans character in my opinion, and pretty sweet. So I can't really complain. What's going on here? For some reason I can't place powder. Okay, there we go. I'm just trying to place powder in this game. Stranger Things? Oh, the cop guy. What's his name? Hop? I can't remember his name, but he's great. The one who adopted Elle. Yeah, he's fucking amazing. I really liked him. Definitely my favourite character in the entire series. Sure. Also, Roy Kent. That has to be. Roy Kent is hilarious. One of the most unexpected characters in that, I think. Because you don't know what he's going to do next. He's quite legendary and he gains legendary status in the show itself. Which is interesting. Yeah, the boys were definitely the British guy. Whatever his name is. He's pretty damn good. Always quite funny. Fate. What was the Fate series? Is there anyone even noteworthy in that? I don't know. That's the problem with it. Like Fate, the normal series is quite just in general. I don't know, but Fate Zero, I'd say there is probably a good character somewhere. Just can't think of them. It's been a while. Oh, I did like the guy that was with the kid. He was hilarious. He's like on the TV, like, oh, this Nixon guy. He really has an idea. It's so funny. It's like Japanese meeting American media. That's one of the funniest things. So what else in between is I had definitely oh, what's his name? The boss wankers guy. I can't remember, but he's hilarious. The Office. I've skipped over the man. No, there's more actually. IT Crowd. That's a tough one. I'm being entirely honest. Because I don't like the person who created the show. So it's hard to say. I don't really know. So I don't think there is one. Last of Us TV show. I'd say the gay couple. I forgot their name, which I can remember, but the first gay couple, I mean. They're sweet. Very good. I didn't expect that romance at all, and it definitely was unexpected. It's like, oh. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. The Mandalorian. Yeah, Grogu's kind of cute. I think Mando is definitely quite interesting. So at the end. The Office, US, obviously. There's a lot of good characters in that. It's hard to pick, but Dwight was always kind of funny. Michael Scott was definitely funny. Oh god, it's hard to say. I don't think there's even like one character that's bad in that, to be honest. Like everyone's odd. The Owl House. Oh, that's definitely Amity. Amity for sure. Yeah, I really like Amity because she turned out to be a bully for the first few episodes of first season, I think actually, and then she suddenly turns and goes to a prom with Luz, and yeah, they start dating. And we'll see Amity turn her life around. That was amazing. Edith's quite funny. If you remember that, and King's cute. What else? Sopranos. It has to be the main guy. What's his name? Oh, I forgot. Tony. That's it. Tony's quite funny. The young ones. I haven't talked about this show yet, but it's one I watched earlier this year. It's a really weird British situation comedy. I don't know, that's a really hard one to pick as well. Like, Vivian's fucking crazy. I've also long had a guy that's vegan. I can't remember his name. It is quite funny too. Because it's like depressed sort of expression. It's really hard to pick a character from that. It's just, they're all good in their own way. Tokyo Ghoul, fuck that show. I hate it. That's one of the worst shows I've ever seen. Literally. God, that was embarrassing. And let's skip over The Witcher Netflix, stuff like that. Right, so it's time to talk about the characters I do like from the top 3 shows that I've not mentioned. So, again, it depends on what they do. And I've also got a few honourable mentions that I didn't mention before, but they almost made the list, that's why they're there. So they're the honourable mentions. Double. So, at number 3 I've got Kuro Sensei from Assassination Classroom. The reason is because he's such an interesting character. Because you don't know where he came from, why he's like that, what he's fucking doing here. It's all such a mystery, and they did a good job of hiding it. Maybe that's easier to do anyway, but I really like how he portrays himself as well. It's just so many fascinating things about him and the way he talks to the cast and stuff. It's just so interesting of a character from a design perspective, like visually, to the things he does, like his insane speed, his tentacles obviously, his way to transform, blowing up the moon. Like, he's done so many fucking weird things that make him so unique. It's definitely one of those characters that you're like, wow, okay. By the end it was like, yeah, he's great. But that ending though, that was amazing. Trying to think what else. I don't think there's much else I could say about Kuro Sensei. The backstory was interesting as well. I can't remember if I better not spoil it. It's actually a really big spoiler that's only really revealed in the last few episodes. So I can't say. Oh my god. Assassination Classroom was amazing. Nagisa's is great too. There's that AI kid as well. It's like such an interesting series. I strongly recommend it. There's a lot of interesting moments in that too, funny as well. Also, just love that gimmick as well, where he's a fucking pervert. Oh, fuck's sake. I remember that. Oh, that's so good. So, I think moving to the second character, this might not be surprising, but it might be for some. I'm gonna put classic Tales rather than modern Tales, because modern Tales is a bit in Sonic. But classic Tales was good, like pre-06 era. He was sweet in his own ways and very cute. But one of the main things that stuck with me was he's obviously determined to follow in Sonic's footsteps and literally try and be more like him, which itself is cute but commendable. That's basically Tales as a whole, because it's even portrayed in the retro games. Obviously, like you see in Sonic 2, he appears with the plane in the end. It's it. He's also helping the animals and stuff in Sonic 3. He can even turn Hyper Tails and stuff. What else did he do? I think he saved Sonic in the Sky Sanctuary or something as well. Sonic story anyway. Trying to think, there has to be more. That's it for the retro era, I think. To my knowledge, anyway. The other thing he did is in the 3D games, when he transitioned that. Yeah, one of the fascinating things in Sonic Adventure was his determination to be more independent and not rely on Sonic to obviously save him. And he achieved that, which again is quite a commendable thing. It's a big thing too. And obviously he's like voice acted by an actual child in that, which is interesting. It's certainly added to the cuteness factor. He's such an interesting character when you really look into it. And also the fact he's pretty much a genius, like almost Eggman's opposite, is also amazing. He's got that going for him. And Sonic Adventure 2, I don't remember much about. I just know he's quite helpful in addressing things, and also he slipped up. He showed that he was I don't know what you call them. I don't like calling them Mobian because that's the fucking comic thing. And they're like more human than humans, I guess. It shows he can make mistakes. So that was always sort of something that stopped me. And he's always trying to help as well. That's the other thing that makes him more adorable. And then Sonic Heroes is about the same, really. I think it's also voice acted by John that also just created a word. Acted? What the hell? Yeah, that's a word. Yeah, Classic Tales for sure is up there. But that post 06 era stuff is kind of like, yeah, kind of fell off. It's not because of the voice acting. The voice acting is kind of about the same, honestly, in some ways, but he just didn't seem like the same character he was back in these older games. That always kind of sucked. But before we get on to the first one, obviously honorable mentions, that's just the way of things. Freerun. So Freerun was actually a very fun anime to watch. But Freerun was an interesting character, and also thanks to Boba for pointing that out in a Twitch live stream. Freerun is pretty autism coded, and it's in the sense that Freerun can't come to terms with the death of her old crew, like the crew that she travelled around with. It's like really hard to come to terms with that. She's not sure if to cry or laugh. And because obviously she's an elf, she's older than them by like hundreds of years, and they could go into thousands. And so she can't really come to terms with that. And she ends up just not understanding what's going on. It's just really sad. But that's what makes her a good character too. Like, she obviously makes mistakes a lot. She likes her treasure. She's also very badass as well. And she'll definitely help her friend in need, by the looks of it. She has a lot of history as well that makes her very mysterious. I'm trying to think what else is there. Well, really enough, I think that's it for Freerun. She was obviously part of a hero story too. So she has a history. I don't think there's anything else I could say. And she definitely was willing to take on like apprentices, obviously. Which again is like a commendable thing. You don't see a main character take on an apprentice often. It's just weird. I don't even recall any show that's done that. That's strange. I just noticed that. Anyway, Freerun is pretty good. Definitely. Next is probably unsurprising. I'll start with the other character first. Chopper. Chopper from One Piece. Of course, he's cute, and he's a doctor. Doesn't always realise he's a doctor. There's so many great interactions with just characters and even in the world. Like, he's done some amazing things. You know, what's fascinating about him as well is his backstory. Like, God, that was like one of the first times I actually cried. It's such a sad backstory. You don't think that the backstory can affect you that hard, but trust me, One Piece will do that to you. But he came out on top in the end, and yeah, he's living out his dream. Also, he just has some interesting personality types, so the way he hides as well. It's like, he's definitely the one hat, the Straw Hat Crew's pet. 100 berries. Fuck's sake. That was such a good joke when that was revealed. It's like, wow. The 50 berries at first. It's so funny. Because One Piece was something else. I just really like Chopper. Also, his design is pretty unique, let's be honest. Big head, small body, and he's wearing the hat. It's a reindeer. What was he, a raccoon dog? He's one of them. Whatever he is, he's adorable. I actually have a plushie of him now. I decided to get one, because fuck it, he's very cute. So why not? After all, why not? That's what leads on to the other character. I don't think this comes as a surprise. But it'd have to be Luffy. And there's a very good reason for that. He's an idiot. He's funny. But more importantly, he does have a good heart underneath all that. Underneath all that stupidity, he does have something going on there. He's definitely kind enough to people when he used to be. He's definitely harsh enough as well, in some cases. But I think because of his devil fruit power, he obviously, I can't really spoil much, but he does cover areas. He does bring people to his side eventually. So yeah, that's interesting. It definitely makes him a character. But I did end up liking him in the end. Also, he improved. He took advice. He developed as a character, as did Chopper as well in the pre-time skip, or even post-time skip actually. He's such an interesting character. So yeah, the next character is Lisa Simpson. Again, people might be surprised by this, but Lisa Simpson, weirdly enough, is a character who literally confirms how stupid people are. It's almost funny, but it's also really depressing. Because while Lisa doesn't fit into the family, the Simpsons, she most definitely did her purpose. She shows that she is like a black sheep in a sense. Not necessarily treated different, but she is different to them. And that's the point. That's what her character is about. She goes against the grain, for lack of a better term, and does her own thing. That's why she's always singled out and outcast even. There's plenty of episodes where she tries to fit in, but she can't because that's just who she is. And she can't fit in for one reason or another. Which also is kind of sad, but she makes up for that with her genius. That she is literally the smartest character there, probably in Springfield overall. And it's crazy that people misunderstand her to that extent, to where I think people are actually projecting every accusation is a confession, as I keep saying now. That's what you keep saying. But that's literally what's happening. People don't like the fact that she's smart because people are not smart themselves. But that's a you problem. It's so dumb. But Lisa is obviously smart, and she's definitely one of those characters where, when you understand, you do like her. For sure. I think when people do come around to her side, it's yeah, you know what, she's right. She's actually a smart character, she's got a lot going for her, and you actually think about it. And she is the voice of reason in a otherwise completely corrupt or completely broken world like the Springfield was. She's one of the few characters that is. If you look at even Professor Frink, he's not perfect. He's definitely not even the smartest guy there. But he can end up being really messed up in some cases. He messes up his inventions for sure. It's gonna happen anyway. But he's sort of corrupt in a sense, isn't he? I remember him doing bad things. He made bad houses as a joke. Actually, has a good gag. But he's incompetent at it, sort of thing. I'm trying to think what else it was. I think that's it in terms of Frink, but Lisa definitely probably my favourite. Sim's character, just full stop. Because yeah, she's just unique, and she also reveals again the problem of the average audience, that people don't understand smart people. So that's always frustrating. Now the honourables are done, I'll have to go on to the first character, the top one that I can think of off the top of my head anyway. They're gonna kind of miss something, but I don't know. There's definitely some shows that I've missed. It's gonna have to be a character from Bleach, believe it or not. Kenpachi Zaraki. This character is literally, I don't know, he is autistic coded, I think, let's be honest, but he doesn't show that. He's like someone who didn't stay to really show that he was the same as everyone else, like he was completely different. On top of being in that place, I forgot what it's called, is it? It's not Limbo, is it? I don't know, they're in that place anyway, they transport the worlds. Let's say Kapachi is a she, that's weird. Kapachi is so intimidating at first when you see him. Like, it's one of those characters that's you're like, he has to be a bad guy, right? And it's not. And the girl that's with him, the adopted, there's also a nice backstory there. Like, he's an insanely clever character and also insanely strong. Like, scarily so. And that's always sort of stuck with me because he's that character that just surprises you at every turn. You know, the way he battled Ichigo, is it? I forgot the name of the character. It's just super interesting. But he didn't use that ability, whatever it was. I can't remember what the name of it is, I'm sure I can remember. But he was the one who basically never used it. You know, he has this untapped power that will give him extra power, which Ichigo has, which every other character has, like even the child. But they don't use it because, well, Kenpachi doesn't use it, supposedly because it makes him stronger. That's just like insane. There's one of the fucking craziest characters there, I think. And I haven't even thought about games actually, now I think about it. I haven't thought much about game characters. So yeah, I probably missed characters here. I don't know, but Kenpachi is just really interesting, and there's definitely some interesting battles to come with that. I was very curious to see if he'd fight Aizen or something, because that would be like e-battle, I think. It'd be more interesting than Ichigo's. You know, Aizen has that ability too. And Bleach was... Well, not just doing a racist thing, I just said Breach, because Japanese anime. Yeah, I definitely really like Kenpachi. It's one of those unique characters, and I think animes have those sort of characters where they go against the grain for different reasons. But the reason why I'm partial to Kenpachi is because of all these different traits he has. It's just a fascinating character. Top Arring adopted daughter, which is a great. Is it sister? I could be wrong actually. It could be sister. Not sure actually. Yeah, he's one of those characters I've thought about every now and then. It's like, wow, yeah, he's definitely goated. And you just want to see more of him, that's the thing. He's so mysterious in that sense. You just want to see more to do with him. Anyway, I think that's my top 3 characters done. And you might think, like, why can you rank those above others? Also, did I say Luffy's a good one? I think I did. Yeah, that's it. So, let's move on to the next topic. Here's a sort of interesting topic, kind of fun, but also might frustrate some people. So, of all the things I do, there are things that I don't do well, and this is specifically in the hygiene sense. I've already been pretty open about mental health, but there are physical health elements too. Some of the first things is kind of obvious actually, it started from childhood, is only brushing my teeth once per day. So the reason I did that is because I didn't have much time. I wanted to just play games. I didn't want to spend minutes doing my fucking teeth after breakfast or before it even. Even then, I didn't like doing it before because I'd get it dirty again. So there's no point. As much as it applies a coat, it just didn't do much. I could now probably get into the routine of it, but I'm not sure. But that sort of ties into another thing, because even to this day, I do not brush my teeth twice. I do it once. And that's it. That's all I have time for. But I could probably do it, as I said. But I want advice because I have bad teeth. It's been obviously true by my speech as well. I reckon my speech could improve with better teeth, but at the moment it's like crowded. I even found recently this thing around. Like some teeth are starting to go behind the other. It's like that crowded. But it ties into that story a few years ago, or 10 years ago, roughly. I was supposed to go to a dentist appointment, and I was really anxious at the time. I can't remember if it was before or after the mental health crisis. It might have been after. But I was so anxious to go there because it's like I didn't like the dentist to begin with. It wasn't that I was scared. It was that I just fucking hated it. The way they put you on this chair thing and then lay you back at like a not even a 180-degree angle. It's more like 200 degrees. Like that's how far it went. It's so uncomfortable, and I just didn't like it. And that caused me a lot of anxiety because it's so uncomfortable when they're doing things like cleaning my teeth properly with this spray thing to stop it from yellowing, cleaning around the gums, which I've also been doing since that, really, to prevent it. They actually didn't have to do it the last time I ever went, I think. It's just so uncomfortable. I hated the fucking dentist. It was so bad, and if I go now, I'm literally going to have a non-negotiable thing where they have to have me set up if they want to do any sort of test, examination, or surgery or anything. I am not doing it laying down. Especially with my breathing problems, actually, because I do get breathing problems while laying down now, which is weird. It's a new problem. I don't know where that's come from. I haven't been to the dentist in a long time. And it's not surprising. It's just hellish all the way through. And the only thing I'd really get from it if I went is like probably something like Invisalign or something. And I found that out through a Twitch stream, weirdly enough. I wasn't sure what it was, but I hate the fact currently that I have crowded teeth that are just some feel wonky at the moment. I'm 28 years old. Like back teeth mainly, but even then they feel unstable. And they also bite into my gums, which is really annoying. I don't really like that aspect. But again, I think I can only handle something like Invisalign because I don't think I'll do well with braces. It'd be too uncomfortable, it'd be a sensory nightmare. And I don't know if it would even be that effective. So something like Invisalign might be the best because it's like adjusted to work on you, work with you. It works over time, as far as I know, without creating the massive discomfort. So that's why I do that. But I don't know if that's even an option in the UK. So that brings in another issue, obviously. But other than teeth, what's the other thing? I don't shower every day. I'm actually good with hygiene because of my OCD. But I don't shower actually at all because I fucking hate showers. They're so uncomfortable. They leave exposures of moisture, which again can be affected by the cold. So no, I don't do showers. I do baths all the way. Even then, like the steam from the baths is comforting because in heat anyway. I don't do that much in the summer. I just have warm or cold-ish, or lukewarm even. I make sure it's like the same temperature as the room. Sort of temperature in summer. But I don't do showers. I've tried many times. I even do a pre-shower actually before I go into the bath. Just to make myself extra clean. To make up for, again, the lack of doing it daily. So that's a weird thing I do. The other weird thing with that actually is why I do it at midday rather than the morning. So the thing with both my toilet and ulcerative colitis is we don't get along. Sometimes it plots the toilet quite badly. I don't really know why. It's just something that ulcerative colitis does. On top of the tissue, so I need to fucking use, which is annoying as hell. I've wanted to get a bidet for a long time, but nothing seems to be moving forward at the moment. But because of the amount that I go to the toilet, which is like anywhere from once to 3 times a day, sometimes even 5, it's usually in the morning. It's exclusively in the morning, like in over 99% of the time. It's been very rare that I've skipped a morning, extremely rare. I think last year I had like 1 or 2 days, so that is how rare it is. But that's the thing, it's such an uncomfortable issue to have because it makes you go so frequently, but that isn't even one of the worst things. Because the worst thing is actually to do with the toilet space itself. I didn't used to have this issue, but it's only become an issue because of the fucking terrible positioning of this toilet. I'm going to ask about moving it. It's in a position where it's against the wall. And if you haven't figured it out, I'm a guy. So it being against the wall means that I have no fucking legroom. But it gets worse. Because it's against the wall, there's also a sink in front of it. That there's not even 2 feet of space. So I just can't fucking move there. So what ends up happening is I go sideways on the toilet, which again causes some problems. But it also means that I have to stand up, like, or just practically squat to actually reach over. Where before I just need to like stand up or something enough to do it and then sit back down if I need to rest. But here I have to like consistently be in that position of like half squatting, half standing. It just takes a strain on me. It does kind of fuck me up physically because I end up with a high heart rate at the end. It's almost like an exercise, just like done cardio. That's how intense it is. On top of my weight as well, it doesn't help things. So I just don't know what to do about that, other than repositioning things. It's just so bizarre. But I didn't expect the reason why I do baths at midday. It's because obviously it happens in the morning. I do obviously do my business in the morning. And that's where I smell most because I'm sweating. On top of that, sometimes sweating anyway. It's less common now, but I still get high heart rate and that can lead to sweating. That's why I have this strange habit. And the other reason is out of the way. Because I know a lot of people tend to do their baths in the morning, and as a habit of actually living in a last house, I'm sort of forced to. Because the current abusive housemate that was there, he would have a bath at like 7 or 8 in the morning when I'd actually need to go use it, like over to urinate. But then after breakfast, sometimes he'd be using it then. So he had no schedule. He had no fucking care in the world for my issues, and neither did the landlord. So I ended up damaging my body because of this shit. So as a habit, I obviously couldn't take a bath in the morning. So no. Yeah, along with ulcerative colitis, I couldn't. Because that would make me smell as well. You know, sometimes there's unfortunately some, I won't call it residue, but it's like, there is like a leakage every now and then. And also from my other part, it sometimes leaks for some reason. As a result, I don't know why. I do sort of wipe that over the other end of a tissue, so it works out eventually. I've had less of that now than before. It used to be a very big issue. I'm sorry for the TMI, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, that's another thing that's kind of bad, I guess. Then, I guess the only other thing I'm just bad with in terms of hygiene, it has to be deodorant. I struggle with deodorant. I can't do the spray on stuff. It's awful for my lungs. It's awful for my mind. It gives me headaches. And I just can't stand how strong it is. So I do natural deodorant now. And aluminum free as well. I just can't handle aluminum stuff. It's hellish. It shouldn't exist. There's a titanium. It's one of them. Might be both. But I just do that instead because it's easier. It's also probably a better smell overall. As much as the links and stuff like smells nice, it's not good at all. And I do wonder if there's like an ethical problem with them. I'm pretty sure they test on animals, so fuck that. I'll just go with natural stuff. I really like cedarwood, for example. But the problem comes in not from buying, but actually using it enough to justify it. I'm actually going to get a subscription-based one, possibly. At some point when I get paid, anyway. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to get a reusable roll and stuff. But I don't use it enough. Like, I go for walks. I went for one today and I forgot to put any on. I have a bad habit of forgetting those things because I'm so busy trying to stuff my pockets with the essentials like a phone, keys and inhaler. I have such a bad habit of remembering that. And it doesn't really stop me from sweating either, which is another frustrating thing. Although this brand I'm looking at actually might help with it for deodorant. Or antiperspirant, is it? I don't know what it actually is. I know there's a difference between the two. So, yeah, I'm probably getting them confused. I'm just not good at applying it, remembering to. It's another frustrating thing. I don't really know what to do about that, in all honesty. I'm trying to think about other hygiene things. I wash my hands a lot, and I've recently taken to putting moisturiser on, and it is working. Yeah, I've noticed that the part of my hand was having skin peeling is much less now. Also felt like sandpaper, that's a bad sign. Weirdly enough, I've also got like a sort of reaction from it, I think. Yeah, it's been on both my hands. So I don't know what that is, actually. But I don't need to moisturise my hands because of how often I wash them. You know, I even sometimes touch the door handle with my keys or something. It's like, no, I've washed them. It just doesn't matter. It's just one of those frustrating things with OCD. And another thing that can happen sometimes is I'm not always good with smells, but sometimes I am. And I don't really think to change them because I'm just not really that sort of person. I don't like being wasteful. So say like I accidentally somehow urinate on myself, which does happen, unfortunately. I don't really understand how though, because I'm directly going into the toilet, so it just doesn't make any sense. It gets really frustrating, and I sometimes smell that shit. And it's so annoying sitting at my desk smelling it. But the reason I don't change is because I don't have any other fucking spares. And even then, like, it's not even like a boxer shit. I don't. Just changing my boxers doesn't help. Because it just goes through, it's annoying. You know, I struggle with finding clothes that actually fucking work. My boxers. I struggle to find clothes that fit as well. There's so many of those like niche issues. It also has to be clothes that feel comfortable as well. I really like vegan outfitters for t-shirts. I found something called Tokyo Laundry, which is really good for boxes. I can definitely vouch for them. They're affordable and they do somewhat work. And they also have one of those whole things, but I'm not interested in that. I don't have the room for that. again, a bit of a TMR. I don't really have recommendations for socks. Trousers, actually, I do have one. Big Dude clothing I use now. I use them for shorts and trousers, and they work really well. I use chino shorts and trousers, but I actually quite like them. They fit pretty well, go down to the knees of the shorts, and they're baggy on the trousers, which is good. That's what I wanted, and they're wide enough. I don't feel a massive discomfort, so it's good. I suppose that's a product shout out. It might not be here. By the time some people watch this, but I don't know. Yeah, as far as the hygiene goes, I don't really know anything else. I don't clean my room much, that's another problem. Like, I do clean in the tidy aspect, but I don't clean in the dusting aspect. Main reason is there's just no point. You know, I've had it cleaned before, like someone cleans it for me by surprise. Within about a few days, you see the same sheet of dust that was there before. There's just no point in the end. Like, why the fuck even bother? You know, if there's no natural way to get rid of it, then what's the point? That's what I'm not understanding here. Because I would pay for something, pay good money, to get rid of the dust. If it was like automatic, if I just turned on the device for an hour, fair, I'll do that. And if it's like every day, I'll do that, sure. But there isn't one. So I just can't be fucked. There's no point. But I think that's it. I've sort of covered most things. I just can't think of anything else. I do wash my clothes a lot, obviously. Just if and when I need to. I used to spill food a lot on myself. I still do to an extent, but not nearly as badly. There's well some clothes where it was brighter. I have a pink shirt which I fucking love. It was stains. Managed to clean up the stains recently, actually. It still has like curry stains on it, which is annoying. I used to be really bad with that, but not so much anymore. I know to lean over and stuff. I do that at restaurants too. It does work, like 95% of the time. Yeah, that's weird issues, personal issues with me. So, yeah, I guess an interesting topic to some. You know, I'm someone who points out the flaws in myself before anyone else can. And it's just part of being honest. Right, outro time. Thanks for watching. I don't really know what I was doing this podcast. It's been such a weird week in terms of news and stuff. Like, I heard about the Israel ceasefire. Did I talk about that? Yeah, the peace plan. Yeah, I'm not so trustful of it. As much as it's good that it might finally stop. Can't always be too sure. It's really not a good opportunity to just get comfortable. You know, it should still be on high alert at this point. And it seems to me it's like a distraction to suddenly get people to stop sending flotillas to them. It's just fucking absurd. But anyway. Yeah, thanks for listening. Also feel free to comment if you have anything. See everyone another time.